What's up, everyone? This is Landman here with you again with another episode of Cheeseheadz Weekly. I am recording this one 2 days ahead of time, which is more than I normally do. Normally, it's either Monday or Tuesday, or sometimes Wednesday. Actually, normally I record them Tuesday, but it's just too late at night, and I end up having to put them out on Wednesday. That's been the way it has been lately, but here we are. I was hoping to do this one more Monday or Tuesday night and get a guest on the show. That fell through. Hopefully, we'll do that some other time. But this is going to be a fun one for sure. I'm very excited for it. We're doing another division preview here. It's another stacked division that we're going to be doing. The next two episodes I'm going to be doing after this, though, are going to be pre recorded. So they won't be, quite as good. Pre-recorded episodes are never quite as good because you can't hit the news. You never know what breaking news I'm going to be missing. But we're going on a almost 2 week long trip, and so I won't be recording anything then. So wanted to make sure you guys still had some content, and so I got them pre-recorded, and or I'm going to have one of them pre-recorded so far, and we'll get the other one done here in short order. So you should have one coming out, or the next two should come out on time on Tuesday. I have them scheduled for that. So without further ado, let's get into the episode here. Before we do that, we have the Q&A and polls on Spotify that we love to see participation in. We have a link in the description to send in a voice message. That link is in the description of every episode on every platform. You can send in a question or disagreement or agreement or just any other comment, topics you want to see, anything like that. The show's available on Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Pandora, and on my website at greycove.net/cheeseheads. So you definitely want to check that out. Have some different articles on there, some visual articles going back and recapping some of my episodes, like the ones I have rankings on. I put the rankings up there, so you can check that out. Also, some breaking news on the Packers front. I will be putting that out there, or just any random news that I find significant enough to put there. Um, should be exciting. The news I have for the Packers is that training camp starts soon, so I'm excited for that. New episodes coming out every single Tuesday, at least most of them. Hit the bell on Spotify or other platforms that have a bell so you can be notified when a new episode comes out. Tell your friends about the show. That's always great to see. Just word of mouth is about the best way to be able to grow the podcast and to get other listeners. So it's great to see people doing that. You can also rate the show, which also helps to get the word out, just not quite as well as telling your friends about the show. So today we have an AFC North preview, as I have already said. Could be some hot takes in this one for some people. But we did just get in some breaking news that finally DeAndre Hopkins is expected to sign with the Tennessee Titans, according to ESPN's Diana Russini. So this is big time news. Of course, that got the wheels turning immediately, just as a fantasy option, dynasty redraft, because I like to play fantasy football. But as far as NFL implications, it seems like DeAndre Hopkins was more into the money than playing for a contender. Titans absolutely do not look like a contender this year, and if you go back and listen to my preview of the AFC South, a very unstacked division, I have Tennessee at the bottom, going 3-14. Now that I maybe did a little, yeah, I tacked way too many losses on there. Like I'm pretty certain Tennessee will do better than that, but I just don't. I'm not very high on them. Don't think they have the greatest team. So maybe I didn't do that preview that well, but that's where I had them. So I don't expect them to do well. I don't expect them to contend. That is for sure. I don't expect them to make the playoffs. So DeAndre Hopkins, apparently the Titans are willing to pay him, and that's what Hopkins is going for. But obviously no details have emerged as of yet. Um, Of course, they might by the time this episode comes out on Tuesday, because, like I said, I'm recording this Sunday afternoon. Um, so yeah, that should be interesting. The Titans have about zero receivers, Traylon Burks, and then um, what is it? NWI, Nick Westbrook, Keen, however you say his name, and I think that's what his name was. Anyway, not a whole lot there. So I guess that might help the Titans out as far as their receiving core. But Traylon Burks there as well. But who knows how they'll do. But yeah, I don't really have any major takeaways other than just it looks like he was um, looking for the money more than the Super Bowl ring, and he's been on some pretty bad teams, starting with the Texans, who he actually did make the playoffs 4 times with them, but it was only for like one game, and then they were bounced. Um, Bunch of wild card games there with Deshaun Watson as his QB. With the Cardinals, nothing materialized. Looked like a better team, that's for sure, especially when they started undefeated. But it went downhill from there after Rasul Douglas snagged a game-winning interception in that game to secure the win for Green Bay against the formerly undefeated Arizona Cardinals. And I was stoked to watch that game and see how it unfolded. I just had to put that in there. But yeah, I don't. That's pretty much all I have to say about that. So let's get into our division preview, AFC North. We'll look at the strength of schedule to start things off. So, I'll bring it up here and let's take a look. The Steelers have the easiest schedule at number 8 in the division. The next easiest would be the Cleveland Browns at 16. Then it's the Bengals at 20, the Ravens at 21. Then we have rest disparity here, which I will also look at. Cleveland has the best rest disparity at plus 10. That's a big rest edge. And Baltimore is plus 9 just below that, plus 7 for Pittsburgh. And then Cincinnati is minus 1. Not much of a concern there for them, though, given how good they're going to be. But they have the hard schedule, worst rest disparity. Makes sense. They're a good team. Pittsburgh looks like they have the best overall layout of everything just because they have such good rest disparity and also a really easy schedule, the easiest schedule here. And then Baltimore have a fairly hard schedule but good rest disparity. So, and then Cleveland I would put above them overall because well they have a better rest edge and I'm right in the middle as far as ease of schedule. But that's as far as strength of schedule and rest disparity go. So don't take any of that to the bank. Looking over the Browns depth chart, they are going to be last. I'm starting with them because I think they're going to be number 4 in the division. They were 4th last year. I think they're going to continue that this year. They got Deshaun Watson, who I will try to not talk too badly of to start. But needless to say, I will not be drafting him in any of my fantasy leagues, no matter how good he plays. Running back, we got Nick Chubb, we got Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Cedric Tillman, Marquise Goodwin, and David Bell. Tillman is a rookie. Marquise Goodwin, they signed in free agency. They traded for Elijah Moore. They've had Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones and David Bell they had last year going into a second year. So they really revamped that, and it's looking really nice. I mean, I guess they didn't really revamp it, but the addition of Elijah Moore and a few of those pieces, complementary guys behind them, makes it look pretty deep and pretty talented overall. Tight end, we got David Njoku and Jordan Akins, who did play with Watson in Houston, for what it's worth. Offensive line is going to be really nice again, probably. Have a lot of good names there. And then, it looks like actually they drafted Dawan Jones as well, from OSU here this year. So, another big man in case they need someone else to put out there. As far as defense, the defensive line is Myles Garrett, Dalvin Tomlinson, Jordan Elliott, and Zadarius Smith. It's looking really nice there, especially with the additions of Tomlinson and Smith. They got some guys behind them as well. Then, fairly good depth there, as far as I can tell. They have Jeremiah Owusu Koromoa. Um, don't ask me to say this other guy's name. Their middle linebackers, Anthony Walker Jr., the cornerback Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome II. Safeties Grant Delpit and Juan Thornhill. They signed him in free agency. And also Rodney McLeod, who they also signed in free agency. Drafted Ronnie Hickman. Looks like they did a little something to that position, which certainly can't be a bad thing. Overall, the team looks pretty good, depending on what Watson does. But let's go through their schedule now and see what they can do, or maybe what they can't do. Week 1 versus the Bengals at home. They lose that one. They go to play the Steelers in Pittsburgh on Monday Night Football. They lose that one. They get the first win of the season in Week 3 at home versus Tennessee, and they get the win there, like I said. At home versus the Ravens in Week 4, they also win. Early bye week, Week 5. And then Week 6, they stay at home, play the Niners. They lose. They go to Indianapolis and win. They go to Seattle and lose. They go home Week 9 versus Arizona. It's a win. At Baltimore then in Week 10, they lose. At home versus the Steelers, they lose that one. Second game to the Steelers. Lose both of those. At Denver then, though, in Week 12, it's a win. In Week 13, they go to sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. They go to Los Angeles to play the Rams, and they win that one. Week 14 at home versus Jacksonville. It's a loss. Then they stay at home, play the Bears. They win. They go to Houston to play Watson's former team, and they win. And then they stay at home, or sorry, go back home, I guess. Play the Jets. Thursday Night Football. It is a loss. Week 18, they go to Cincinnati to play the Bengals, lose to them again. And they go 8-9. And yeah, they have a history of bad teams. They still have not got their quarterback right. They've done a little bit better. Baker Mayfield had times where he was okay. He was serviceable. Or, I mean, at times he looked really awesome, too. But again, it was a swing and miss, and they just opted to go trade for Watson, pay him a ton after he made an absolute fool of himself. And just was, in general, not a very pleasant person. So I do not look at the Browns and say, what a good move. I say, Watson should be out of the NFL. And I'm not sure why you brought him back. I mean, come on. What he did was a lot worse than what Colin Kaepernick did, okay? Colin Kaepernick ain't in the NFL anymore. But somehow, Watson got paid this huge amount of guaranteed money to play again, after what he did. And that is an absolutely egregious mistake by Cleveland. And let's just, yeah, I already said I'm not going to pick him in any of my fantasy drafts. I want absolutely nothing to do with that guy. Thank you very much. I would just pretend he is out of the NFL. On to the Steelers. They do have a little bit more of a winning culture. Sorry, we're not going to the Steelers. we're waiting on them because guess what? They're number 2 in the division, taking the Ravens spot and bumping them down to their spot, which would be number 3 in the division for this year. Baltimore was number 2 in the division last year. Their quarterback is Lamar Jackson, who they were able to actually bring back along with OBJ. The only reason he came back was OBJ. I'm not sure why. Yeah, some of these young guns seem to think OBJ is pretty cool. I'm not one of them. J.K. Dobbins at running back, along with Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, retaining that core three that they've had at running back for the past, I don't know, 3-4 years now. Rashad Bateman, Devin Duvernay, OBJ, Zay Flowers, James Procey, Nelson Aguilar, who is washed. Um, but overall, pretty nice core receivers. Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely at tight end. That's pretty nice. Patrick Ricard, one of the best fullbacks in the league. Their offensive line should be okay. I think it should be, yeah. Looks pretty nice. They have a little bit of depth maybe. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see where that goes. Our our defensive line, I don't know. I don't know all these names. Um, but I think they can have an okay offensive line. It's not great. They don't have Calais Campbell anymore. But they do have Roquan Smith, Patrick Queen, and Tyus Bowser at linebacker. That's one stacked group, along with Odafe Owe, who needs to prove he can play for sure and be a long-term solution for them there. But they also have Kyle Hamilton, Marcus Williams at safety. Not a bad duo there. At corner, they have Rock Yassin and Marlon Humphrey. I don't know about Rock Yassin. He's a little bit of a draft bust, I think. But maybe he can still play. We'll see how he does at starting corner. Defense could be a little shaky. Offense should be pretty good, at least if Jackson stays healthy. So expectations. Well, let's check the schedule. We go to Baltimore, and they are at home in week 1, get a win versus Houston in week 1. And then they go to play the Bengals, easy loss. They go home to play Indianapolis, the Colts, and win. Week 4 is at Cleveland, they lose. And did I get that right? I did get that right. Wow. I'm actually kind of surprised I put the Browns beating the Ravens there. But that's okay. At least the Browns record, I made their record bad enough anyway, even though I had them beating the Ravens, so that's okay. We don't need to change that. At Steelers in Pittsburgh, week 5, it's a loss. At Tennessee, it's a win in week 6. At home versus the Lions, they win. In week 8, they go to play Arizona in Arizona and win. At home versus Seattle, that's a loss. They play the Browns at home, win this time. And then they play the Bengals at home Thursday night football. Oh yes, nope, it's a loss. And then they play the Chargers in Los Angeles on Sunday night football. They win. That could be a stretch, but I guess I'll give it to them there. At home versus their bye week actually first. Week 13, fairly late bye in week 13, and then they're at home to play the Rams, which is a win. They play in Jacksonville on Sunday Night Football and lose in week 15. Week 16 is in San Francisco Monday Night Football. They lose that one too. And then they play the Dolphins in week 17. They lose that one, which is at home. Then they play the Steelers at home, and I have them winning that one. And that will give them a 9-8 record, which is not horrible. But especially since I have the Steelers and the Bengals ahead of them in the division, it'll be tough for them to make the playoffs. But it's possible with that record they make the playoffs. But that would be kind of hilarious, Lamar Jackson. He's like, "Oh yeah, we're going all in because we got OBJ. I'm gonna get me some money, not near as much as I wanted, or at least I thought I wanted. But we can do it because we got OBJ, and he's gonna take us to the Super Bowl. And yeah, I will be laughing if they don't make the playoffs. I'd love that for that to come true, but it might not. They might actually be a good team, or Lamar Jackson might be injured for most of the season again. Who knows? Um, so now we'll go to Pittsburgh. Let's look at their depth chart. They have Kenny Pickett, who was not great. I will admit that he was not great, but he started getting better towards the end of the season. Made some really awesome plays. I think of a touchdown pass to Najee Harris he did across his body. I really like that one. Um, Not that I watch the Steelers too much, but yeah, running back room should be pretty nice with Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, and then Anthony McFarland Jr., who is always around. At wide receiver, mm, it might be okay. They have Deontay Johnson and George Pickens. Calvin Austin the third. They have Miles Boykin, and then they have Allen Robinson. He's got a few rave reviews already, actually, but I think he's kind of washed. But you never know. Pat Fryermuth at tight end, and Darnell Washington, who they just drafted. Um, so I'd say that spot should be um, pretty nice. And they do have a fullback. I don't know if he will actually make the roster or not. I never heard of him. But Monty Pottebaum, or maybe it's just Potbomb. I don't know. That's kind of a strange name. Wouldn't want to have his name, but yeah, the haven't heard of many of these guys here on the offensive line. They did draft Broderick Jones to be their left tackle, but I won't go too far into that because I'm not sure it's going to be that great. Their defensive line should be okay though, because they got Larry Ogunjobi and Keanu Benton, Cameron Hayward, and then they have, of course, T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith, Landon Roberts. Never heard of that one. Tell you what. Cole Holcomb. And then they have Patrick Peterson at corner, Joey Porter Jr. at the other corner spot. At safety, they have DeMonte Casey and Minka Fitzpatrick. That's gonna be looking pretty nice. Keanu Neal is also on the roster, who I've heard of. I'm not sure if that means he's good or not. And so yeah, it shouldn't be a horrible defense, I wouldn't say. Um, we'll see where that goes. To be honest, the Ravens' depth chart overall looks a little bit better. Maybe I should have looked at the depth charts sooner. But I didn't, so yeah, that's where that is. Yeah, it certainly is possible I should have looked at them sooner, so I could gauge better how to do their record because the Ravens probably are better, but I also like the Steelers better. I'm higher on the Steelers. So, to be honest, these previews, I'm trying to make them sort of realistic. I do think the Steelers can attain this record. It's just that the Ravens probably should have a good bit better record. But I do kind of do it kind of on my interests, who I like and, different things like that as well factors into it. So hopefully no one's too offended. Last I checked, I don't think I have too many Ravens fans on that listen to the show, so you feel free to call me out if you want to. But I do know I have some Steelers fans on the show, so I guess that's why. Steelers. I just noticed the Steelers have Montravis Adams. Used to play for the Packers. Never was a huge fan of him. Never was that high on him. So never was that high on him. So I don't know. Maybe maybe I shouldn't like the Steelers quite as much. No, I'm just kidding. For the most part, let's look at the Steelers schedule. Where are we at? We need to go down to Pittsburgh. I have this all in alphabetical order, so I have to scroll down a little ways for this one. Um, and at home versus San Francisco in week one, they lose. But then they're at home versus the Browns Monday Night Football. They win. Yeah, sorry. Week three is at the Raiders in Las Vegas. Sunday Night Football, it's a win. At Houston, the Texans, it's a win. At home versus the Ravens, it's a win. 4-game win streak, 5-game win streak because they have their bye then in whatever week it is. Week 6, an early bye. Um, and then they play the Rams and get another win. But then they play the Jaguars and they lose to them at home. They play the Titans at home though on Thursday Night Football. They win that one. They lose to the Packers. This was kind of a tough decision, but the team I like most comes out on top. No, not exactly, but I think the Packers can beat them. Um, and then at Cleveland, they will win that one. And then at the Bengals, they lose that one. At home versus the Cardinals, they win that one, though. Then they play the Patriots at home on Thursday Night Football, and they win that one. They go to Indianapolis to play the Colts and win that one as well. They play the Bengals at home this time and lose. They go to Seattle to play the Seahawks and lose, and then they play the Ravens at Baltimore and lose. Despite those 3 straight losses to end the season, they finished 10-7. I think that's very attainable. That's pretty realistic for them. Um, but like I said, maybe they shouldn't be ahead of the Ravens. Um, on to the Bengals. I'm very high on the Bengals this year as well. In case I didn't let you know, you will see for what reason very soon. But I mean, just look at their roster. Here's what it looks like. They have Joe Burrow as their starting quarterback. Not bad. Joe Mixon is their starting running back with recent draft pick rookie Chase Brown, Travion Williams, and Chris Evans to back him up. Not bad. Their wide receivers are Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and they drafted 1 or 2 this year. Have okay depth, not the greatest, but also not bad. Tight end is Irv Smith Jr. They also still have Drew Sample there. Not too bad, not amazing, but not bad. Um, their offensive line should be a little bit better than in recent years. They have Orlando Brown, who's somewhat overrated maybe, but still a solid left tackle. They have Alex Kappa and Jonah Williams on the right tackle, Alex Kappa right guard. Their left guard and center I've never heard of, but we'll see where that goes. On the defensive line, they have Sam Hubbard, DJ Reader, BJ Hill, and Trey Hendrickson. Also not bad. Uh, yeah, it looks pretty good on paper. They also drafted Miles Murphy, which I didn't realize. Wow, that's looking real nice for them. And they have at linebacker Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt, and Akeem Davis Gaither. Yeah, that's looking okay too. And they have Chidobe Awuzie. I really liked his name's really fun to say for one thing. And he also was a little bit banged up and maybe had a concussion, I think, or was getting checked for one when he played the Packers last year. And or no, I guess the year before last maybe. Um, when they were trading field goals and in overtime, and it was just a mess, and the Packers finally won. They missed how many field goals? Anyway, yeah, I was like, Awuzie was a little woozy there after he took a hit at one point, and yeah, he was a little Awuzie, so that's why I like his name. Um, but I think he's a pretty good corner. Cam Taylor Britt at the other corner position. They also have Mike Hilton, sorry, out there. Oh, DJ Turner the second is a rookie with crazy speed. I think if I'm maybe I should actually look to be sure. Maybe I'm thinking of someone different. I was pretty sure that's who he is. Yep. He's a rookie, so that must be who he is. From like Michigan. Yeah. Wows with a 4.2640 at the combine. He's got some speed, I'd say. Um, and then so cornerback position, and then Nick Scott and Dax Hill at safety, but they also drafted Jordan Battle out there. So their secondary may be a little bit more shaky than other spots on the defensive line, but overall, they address the positions. Yeah. So there you go. That's about it for that. No, we don't need to go over special teams. Um, Other than the fact that they do have a guy by the name of Evan McPherson, and he is someone to fear because he is fearless. He is a absolutely clutch kicker. So great to have him, I'd say. Let's check the schedule. Up to the C's. Cincinnati Bengals. They start off week one at the Browns with a win. Then they go home, play the Ravens and win. Then they're at home versus the Rams at Monday Night Football. Win. At Tennessee, it's a win. At Arizona, it's also a win. Then they go home, play Seattle. Guess what? It's a win. And then they have their bye week in week 7. They're all rested up, coming out of their bye. I mean, I'm sure you could guess what's going to happen after this. Um, Wait a minute. I'm lost. What happened? I just lost them. Completely lost them. So we're looking at week 7 here, okay? So we have lots of buys in week 7. Okay, I found them. And yeah, they're all rested up coming out of the bye. Guess what? Oh, they lose in San Francisco to the 49ers. Wow, didn't expect that at all. Then they play the Bills at home, Sunday Night Football. Tough game, but I think they win. They play at home versus the Texans and win. Then they go to play the Ravens in Baltimore Thursday Night Football. They win. They play at home versus Steelers. They win. They go to Jacksonville in Week 13 on Monday Night Football. Win. At home versus the Colts. It's a win. At home versus the Vikings. It's a win. And then they go to play the Steelers. What did I do wrong? It seems I'm gonna have to change the Steelers' record to 11-6 because their second loss of the season is in Week 16 in Pittsburgh, and I say the Steelers upset the Bengals. Are you kidding me right now? Yeah, I'm. Uh, I wrote it down, but I'm pretty much kidding you anyway. But you never know. I had to put in another loss somewhere. And I thought in week 17 they should go to Kansas City and play the Chiefs, which is another really tough game, and still win. I have them winning like all their hard games and a few of their slightly easier ones. I have them losing. Like they could lose to the Jaguars or the Bills or the Chiefs. I have them winning all three of those. Losing to the 49ers and Steelers. Wow, what a I mean, the Packers are known for winning some hard ones and then losing to some easy teams. They've done that the past few years, and it's been really annoying. But yeah, they beat the Chiefs week 17, and then at home versus the Browns, easy win. I will go down to the Steelers, one and correct it and change their record. I guess I'll keep it that way. That's a very, very bold prediction. But here we go. You guys, I'll tell you what, I'm going to get lots of shade thrown at me with all the random stuff I'm doing. I didn't even know I did that. That's why I had the Steelers. I'm going through the Steelers thing. Loss. Oh, Bengals loss. And then somehow I had them at a win over here at the Bengals for their second loss. And I'm not putting them 16-1. I could change some other stuff, but I'm not going to change in the middle of the show all this stuff now. So, yeah, I'm droning on and on. But they do finish 15-2, win the AFC North, and it's all great. So I hope you didn't mind the episode. Feel free to send in voice message. I tell you what, if there's an episode where there's gonna be lots of participation, polls, Q&As, and lots of voice messages, I tell you what, it's gonna be this one right here because I was just whoo. I tell you what, some would say maybe I butchered it, but you never know. We'll see what happens. I certainly don't expect all that to happen, but I mean, I thought I had enough hot takes, and then I'm going through and finding even more. Man. So, like I said, participate in the Q&As and polls, send in a voice message. Tell your friends about the show, rate the show, and we'll have a new episode out next Tuesday. Thanks for listening, everybody. Goodbye.